So kick it off with a tell me something good. What good happened in your businesses last week, Clark?
Yeah, we just had a new agent, Michael Schmidt.
Michael Schmidt.
He is actually up in Idaho, probably gonna come to Cabo, I think, so.
Fun. Congratulations, growing the team. And then anybody else have any tell me something good? I have a like
So I feel it closed last week, so that
Boom.
was good. Did open house, got some good leads from that, and I got 3 open houses for this weekend.
there you go. Rain or shine, Steve Dennis is closing deals. What do they say? Cashing checks and cracking necks. That's Steve Dennison.
Not raining.
He's not even listening to me. That's good. Oh, all right. And then anybody else? Anybody else? Going once, going twice. We have a new guest. Have you been here before?
I
You
know,
look
I'm
familiar.
gonna like squeeze in and not interrupt. I'm Lindsay, I'm with 2 Men in a Truck moving.
Two Men in a Truck.
By me, so.
All right. Well, hey, nice to meet you. Lindsay, was it?
Yeah, Lindsay Brown.
All right, Lindsay Brown. Nice to meet you and have you here. I'd like to connect with you later because I see your guys' billboards everywhere.
I'm also recovering state, so.
Oh my gosh, love that. Recovering real estate agent.
Not recovered.
So I've gone on a couple listing appointments recently where I don't care what the price point is. I've been getting beat down on commission, like, it's like dropped like curb stomped on commission. Has anybody else? Am I the only guy that's experiencing this? Everybody else is just rocking. Okay, you guys are all awesome. So, but yesterday I went on a listing appointment, and man, I don't even want to go. This guy's just gonna beat me down on price. Because I listed a whole house last year for a discounted commission. It sold for 2.7 million. I was like, all these rich guys just want a freaking discount. Well, I go out, I was like, don't think that. This is a different person. I go out and he's like, so what is it? Standard 3%? I was like, amen, brother, let's go. So we listed a house yesterday for 2.4, where it's going to come on the market for 2.4 million at 3%. So I'm sharing that one, like, because I'm super stoked about it. And two, that's a lot of money. Like we have people at $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 that are complaining about our typical fee. This guy's willing to pay three bananas. Okay,
And 3 to the buyer side too?
2.5% on the buyer side. Yeah. So compare that to his neighbor whose house we sold. He was not offering any commission on the buyer side. What do you got, Marguerite?
My last 3 buyers on the buyer side, I have written 3% in the contract.
Yep.
For commission for buyer side,
Mm-hmm.
3 bananas. And I had one of them that countered at 2%. I went back to my buyers and I said, what would you guys like to do? And they go, well, can we raise the price to cover it? I said, yes, we can.
Boom.
And the agent, and they agreed to pay 3%. So my last 3 buyer sides, all of them I've gotten 3.
Love that. Love that. So in case, that there's a round of applause. Let the cock down for that.
It's better now as a buyer's agent. I don't have to take what you say.
Correct.
I can negotiate whatever I want.
You can negotiate it.
Came up with a better way to skin the cat. That buyer and seller.
Yep. Yep. And good buyers recognize the value that Marguerite brings, recognizes the value that Tom brings, right? They want you in their corner and they're willing to pay a little bit extra. But Valerie, it's standard on all of her buyer agreements. She always puts in 3%. Sometimes she gets it, sometimes she doesn't, but you won't know if you don't try.
What's funny is who's usually arguing it is the agent on the other side. And finally I just said to this one, I go, you know what? How long you been in business? He goes, 22 years. I go, do you work hard? He goes, yeah. I go, then you deserve to get paid better than you do. And so what?
Yep. And what'd he say? Yeah. Anybody that's been in the business, any length of time, like Val and I have only been doing this 10 years. You've been doing it long, but that guy's been doing it 31. That guy was doing it 22 years. He's seen some stuff. He knows that he's worth that extra 100%. So, all right, moving on. Tell me something good. So then we have events. So coming up, this is our speaker for today. Coming up, is that next week? Already next week, the 20th? Yeah. Wow. Next week we have, I forgot her name, Jo Ellen. Jo Ellen is coming out from the 50 side. She's going to talk about how she generates a lot of business off Nextdoor. I think she gets 8 to 10 deals a year off of Nextdoor. So if you're not implementing Nextdoor in your business and you'd like to maybe close an extra 1, 2, 10 deals, she's going to teach us how to do that. And then the following week we have PCAR. So John Sy is coming out February 27th. So just as a reminder, not here on February 27th, we're going to be at Placer County Association of Realtors. So this is a good one. Like Clark always does a great job of bringing people. Marguerite always does a great job of bringing people. Bring people who are with EXP, people who are not with EXP. Let's fill that room because he's going to talk to us about how he sells. Like last year, he sold, what was it, 149 homes just himself last year. So pretty incredible guy I'd like to learn from. And then the following week is Cabo. So Brent is saying probably we're not gonna hold a team meeting here that week because most of us, like I'll be in Cabo, Rob will be in Cabo. Raise your hand if you're going to Cabo in the room. Margaret will be in Cabo, Clark's going to Cabo, Val's going to Cabo, Joey, Tom, right? So it's gonna be a bit of a skeleton crew, so we might hit pause. But if you haven't got your tickets yet, go ahead. You can get them. They're $5.97 a piece. You know the lineup. But just in case you don't, Tom Ferry, Pace Morby, Ed Milet, and Gary Brecka. Just one of these guys is worth paying $600 to see. And plus, you're in Cabo, so come on down. Come on down, Erin. And then after that, that's it. Okay. Before we move into our lender update, our lender minute with JJ Mack, our in-house lender, Marguerite has something she'd like to share. Give her a round of applause. She walks to the front.
Some of you might know, maybe you don't know, that I wrote a book a while ago, a couple of years ago. And it's Valentine's Day, so it's a perfect opportunity for you to get a copy of my book and some note cards that are the art from the book. So I'll take just 5 minutes and tell you a brief overview of the story of the book. So many of you know my husband, Joe. We've been together, it'll be 39 years, I think. He's better, he remembers. Thank you. And every relationship goes through its challenging times, right? And there was a time when our kids were young and life was busy and we were working and kids and, you know, chores and all the stuff we had to do. And I was frustrated and getting more increasingly frustrated. And I woke up one day and I said, today is the day. We're either going to an attorney or a counselor. You decide. Well, luckily, my husband is a smart man. He chose a counselor. And so we went to the first therapy session and they're like, why are you here? And he's like, because she made me. And I said, wrong answer, jerk. Right? And then we go to the second appointment and they talk about your family background. My husband comes from, he's first generation American, old world Spanish family. Stay married till you die, the whole bit. My mom had been married 4 times. That's just the one she married. So we came from very different backgrounds. I didn't really have any great role models or anything like that in my life. So the third appointment, you go separately. And the therapist is like, so are you done? Or is there a chance you might be willing to work on it? Because if you're done, we're all wasting time, right? And I go, well, he's at least here. So I'm at least willing to see what we can do. He goes, well, I would like you to go home and make a list of the things that you love about him. I'm like, I don't like him right now. I don't think I can write down anything. I don't like the way he smells. I don't like him, right? I don't like anything about him right now. And he goes, and I said, and I've done the pros and the cons outweigh the pros. He goes, well, listen, why don't you set the cons aside, go home and work on a list of the things that you love about him. And he goes, you strike me as somebody's competitive. How many do you think you could come up with? I go, well, if I could come up with 1, I can do 100, right? And I kind of left it at that. So I went home and for a few days, I couldn't think of anything and I was getting frustrated. And then I woke up one day and there was tea next to my bed and my husband makes me tea every morning and puts it next to my bed when I wake up. I'm like, okay, well, he's a good dad. He's funny. Everybody loves Joe. And I started to make my list. The truth be told, I only made the list to 45, but I gave him that list for our anniversary that year and it saved our marriage. Now, the second part of that is Joe didn't change a thing. The only thing that changed was my perspective, right? My view. I started to remember all the things that I had fallen in love with him about over the years, all the things that were special and the things that we mattered and the things that we cared about. So that's what my book is about. And in this book, there are 100 different places you can actually write the things that you love about your significant other. So you might want to buy 2, one for you, one for them. And you can fill all these little things in. And Valentine's Day, just as a reminder, especially you guys, is tomorrow. So you still have time to buy a book. And even if you just fill out a few things in the book, it will score big points, I am sure. So I do have them for sale. It is $15 for the book, $15. The note cards are from the art that is in the book, which I had illustrated, done custom for me. So, and you can buy both for $30 or you can buy one or the other. So I have a few back there today. And if you would like to get a special Valentine's Day gift, men, then you can buy one today and your problems are solved. There you go.
Thank you so much, Marguerite. That's lovely. We're probably gonna have to step out of the room while I get her a Valentine's Day gift. But, okay. Well, next up.
Surprise.
At least in your relationship.
Or just for the Valentine's gift.
For your relationship.
Sometimes that solves a lot of the problems, man. It used to solve the relationship, it solves a lot. Hello. We have Jen Finley in the back of the room with Good Life. Everybody say hi to Jen. She's our fruit inspector. But it's not too late, Jen. You can get you can still buy one. All right, and before we forget, we typically, do we have Alex's slide?
No, I don't have one friend.
No, so, every single Friday, 10 o'clock. Come on up, Alex. What are you guys speaking on this week? Give him a round of applause for this.
Hey, so I'm continuing my 12-week series on lead generation using KV Core, and tomorrow I'm going to cover Property Boost. We have a Property Boost feature within the platform, and I'm really focusing on Property Boost towards digital domination of your farm. So I won't explain it. I'll leave you with that, but you can join me tomorrow. And I'll also show you how to wish your entire database Happy Valentine's Day tomorrow.
There we go. Love it.
And where do you meet? Right here.
Right here.
Yep.
Easy,
What
easy.
time?
10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. Right here tomorrow, 10 o'clock. And I'm feeling like the internet's gonna work this week and on Zoom. We'll get your slide up there next week.
In the school platform.
Full platform. We've got a lot.
There's a lot of support.
More.
A lot of
And
support.
there's.
Keep going.
All right. So before we get started with our two amazing speakers, let's bring, where did he go? JJ Mack? There you are. I was like, where'd he go? All right, everybody give JJ a round of applause. He walks on up.
We're the fight for sure.
On up.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, your way.
All right. All right, well, Marguerite, I need one, because
My vendor.
you said Valentine's Day is tomorrow, and I was like, wait, isn't that next week? No, it's tomorrow. Dang it. All right.
The next tomorrow.
I'm gonna be one of those guys at Safeway tomorrow morning at like 6 a.m. The door's open. I need some roses. So, all right. Well, hey, I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on rates first, and I want to give you a couple quick things as well. But rates slightly worse than last week, but we're still a lot better than we were at the beginning of this year. So things are trending upwards in terms of the mortgage bonds, which means the interest rates are getting better. Trump is coming out today with a meeting. He's going to be talking about reciprocatory tariffs. So that could be inflationary. So watch out for that. If that ends up, moving the markets, potentially the wrong way. So if you have some clients and you're looking to potentially lock into an interest rate, it might not be a bad idea to get ahead of that. I think he's actually talking right now. So might not have that opportunity. But with that being said, we'll watch out for that. I'll keep you guys posted. I'll probably post something on Instagram later today if it is a big market mover. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about two things today. One's close of escrow, and then one's a specific loan program that we're doing. And I've been getting a lot of, I'm not sure if you guys are experiencing this, but man, I have a ton of pre-approved buyers, and they're just sitting out there, then they're putting offers in, but they're not getting offers accepted. And so I finally started talking to the real estate agents, and I said, hey, you guys need to start writing more competitive offers. Well, how do we do that? Well, you need to make this as good as you possibly can. Well, so every single loan that we're getting in the door right now, we're trying to get them approved, underwriting approval, and we're sending out what's called a platinum approval letter. On that platinum approval letter, it's going to say this approval letter, this platinum approval letter comes with no loan contingencies. You don't have to have any loan contingencies. We have an approval letter, and we actually put a snippet of the loan approval in the pre-approval letter. It looks pretty cool. It says your loan's been approved by this underwriter at this time, and they are ready to roll. All we need is a preliminary title report and appraisal to confirm the value. And so we write a 12-day close of escrow. And we've done 4 of those over this last month, and we were able to get the offer accepted because after the offer went out, myself or Lindsay had called the listing agent and said, hey, want to make sure you saw the offer letter. 12-day close of escrow. We're going to have no issues. This client really wants your house. And so they said, well, hey, and in a couple of those instances, we were actually a little less than the competitor, but we still got it. So make sure you're writing very competitive offers in this market. It's so important if you want your buyer's offer to get accepted. Otherwise, you'll just have to keep spinning your wheels. And then one more thing. Did you guys know that 66% of Americans have rates below 5%? 40% of Americans have rates below 4%? That means that all these people were trying to get to sell their homes. They probably don't want to. Well, because you're going to offer me an 8 or 7% rate or a 6.5% rate. I don't think that looks very good. And so how do we help them? How do we help them get through that? 23, well, the other part of this is 23% of American, $23,000 is what the average American credit card debt is. And those credit card debts are almost at 24% on average. So those people are also having issues paying their bills. So they've got a lot of credit card debt build up, and they've got this low interest rate though. So what are we doing to help our clients? Well, also, as you know, that same person in America has an average of $315,000 of home equity. So what am I trying to say? 83% of mortgages that are going through the market right now are home equity lines of credit. That means your clients, my clients need help. We need to be the saviors to them and let them know that they are not trapped if they need help. You know, they've got access to home equity lines of credit. And what are they going to do with that home equity line of credit? Well, a lot of our clients have said, I really like to keep this house. I like this low interest rate, but I really need to purchase another one. Why don't you keep that house? Keep your low interest rate. But why don't you get a home equity line of credit on it? Take that and go buy another home. So now you're getting the rents from that house. You have a 3% interest rate, 2.5% interest rate, whatever it is, and you're making money on that rental. You're taking that money and you're putting it into something else. You've told me for the last 3 years you've wanted to buy something else. You needed, you know, your family's been growing or your family's been downsizing. You just haven't wanted to pull the trigger on it. Well, that extra rent that you'd be receiving can go to help pay for that mortgage pay on that new house. So now you're in the same level. You're not taking any money loss. You're not making. You're able to take more income from that current home and utilize it for that next home purchase. And I can tell you that has helped several of our clients move forward with finally being able to purchase that next house. They do not need to sell their home. I know we'd like to sell the home. They will at some point, but we can help them the way that they want to be helped. I think that they're going to do a lot better service for our clients. So if you have a client that wants to look at potentially talking about a home equity line of credit, maybe to move to another home, maybe just to get some money out and access, you know, to pay off some debt. Maybe they need to do update their kitchen before they sell their home. Whatever it is, we've got access to those programs. We'd love to help. 83% of loans closing right now are home equity lines of credit. Remember that. And yeah, I'm sure you can help out one of your clients today. Any questions? Rates, mortgage, anything at all you can help with? I think we're good. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, JJ.
Hey, JJ, I had
So recently I connected, so super quick story. It's really sad. This lady, she moved from the Bay Area to, I won't say the city. She moved out here a few years ago with her husband and her mom. As soon as she closed on the house, her husband died. A couple years, and her mom and her husband were like income providers. Like they all went in on this home together. Her husband died a couple years later. Mom died a couple years later. Her son died. And so all while she's been living in this home, it's in a state of disrepair. She's just been struggling to make ends meet. And so, but she has equity, like what JJ was saying. And so we connected her with JJ. She can have, and she has a lot of credit card debt. But what her plan is to pay off the credit card debt, fix up the house, and then sell it and start fresh in another state. And so because of the home equity line of credit, she can have access to that money, well, at least with JJ's team, in as little as 14 days. So before the end of the month, you know, we started this a couple of days ago, before the end of the month, she can have access to those funds to help her, you know, begin this process and start fresh somewhere else. So this isn't theory, this is really helping people. So I would just keep that tool in your back pocket should you need it. So moving on, we have two incredible speakers today. The first one is Barbara Witt, and she's your tax coach. And what better thing to talk about on the day before Valentine's Day than taxes? Nothing says love like taxes. And she comes highly recommended from Brent Gove. And so Barbara, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to share slides. Hopefully those in person can also see them. Oh,
Yeah, we can
sweet.
see it.
I can see that you see them. Perfect. So just a little bit about me for those of you that don't follow your tax coach yet, but I highly recommend following on Instagram because I drop daily tips and tricks on how to save in taxes. Today was all about how to write off your pets. So for any of you, for mamas and daddies, you'll want to listen to those stories. But I own a tax strategy firm. I am also a big real estate investor. We have hundreds of doors all around the US. And so I'm very familiar with real estate and how it can help you save money in taxes. So I'm going to dive a little bit into deductions that you might be missing out on in your real estate business. But I only have 20 minutes, so we're like just the tip of the iceberg here. I'll try to go as fast as I can through as many fun deductions as I can. But if you have questions, maybe there'll be time at the end, or also feel free to DM me at your tax coach. So also, if you just want like more tax knowledge, I've been on like most podcasts out there. I have my own podcast called Life Changing Money, if you want to listen there as well. That's more on money mindset, but I do touch a little bit on taxes. And then everyone always asks when I do these presentations, like, can you actually do our taxes? Yes, of course. We'll create your tax plan. We'll prepare your taxes. We have a full bookkeeping team. I have 30 employees in 16 states. We can do cost seg studies for you or your clients. If you are investing in real estate, you got to know about cost segregation studies. And we have a bunch of courses and webinars that we host as well, because I am big about education and educating business owners and real estate investors. Our attorneys make me say this is not tax, legal, or financial advice. So there's your disclaimer. Let's get to the fun stuff. So I always like to start my presentations with how you're structured, because how your business is structured will determine how you're taxed and how much you're taxed. So for those of you out there that are just a sole proprietor, meaning you don't have any entity, or you have an LLC but nothing else, you are taxed at the highest rates. And that's because you're taxed with self-employment taxes. So if you look on your last year's tax return, there's a line on there called other taxes. And I think it's a little mischievous that the IRS puts other taxes because they don't really want you to know what that is. But probably what it is for you is self-employment tax. It's an extra 15.3% on top of your federal tax rates, on top of your state tax rates as well, if you're in a state where you have state taxes. And so a lot of times people think when you have an LLC, it will save you money in tax, but it actually doesn't. It's the exact same as if you had no entity at all. But LLCs are important for liability protection, so still have those, especially if you're into real estate investing. You want to hold your properties into LLCs, series LLCs, and things like that. But why you want an LLC as a real estate agent is because once you hold an LLC, you can then flip it into an S corporation. And S corporations are like the key to saving as a business owner. So like I mentioned, you'll get out of most of that 15.3% in tax. So imagine you're making 100K. Right there, you'll save almost 15 grand in taxes, because you'll pay a little bit on the payroll tax side, but not much, at least as long as your accountant is taking into consideration payroll tax and reasonable compensation and all of that. You can get out of a lot of tax. And if you add a spouse in your business, you're going to double that tax savings because they would have been subject to self-employment tax as well. And I'll talk a little bit about why I love incorporating spouses into your business, which is perfect because tomorrow's Valentine's Day. And then partnerships are also really important for real estate investing. But for those of you, if you have partnerships in an active business, like maybe you're a broker with other people, I don't like when we have an S corp with multiple owners. I like having a partnership with multiple S corps in the partnership, because then you're able to take all of your own expenses without having to get permission from the partners in the partnership. So that's kind of a little hack if you have multi-owners in a business. And then I'm not an attorney. I do taxes. I've been doing it for 15 years, but I can say that if you have a personal residence, you likely want to have that in a revocable living trust. And so I would highly recommend letting your clients know that as well as they're buying personal residences. a revocable living trust, RLT. Now, before I go into like fun deductions that you might be missing out on, I have to tell you kind of the keys to what you need to know first, which is you have to keep documentation on any of these cool expenses like travel, vehicles, maybe you're even writing off your pet, a lot of different deductions. You have to document it, whether that's keeping a log, keeping it on your calendar, keeping receipts. There's a lot of different ways to like keep documentation. And when I say keep receipts, it does not mean a bank statement. So don't kill the messenger, but bank statements do not count as a form of receipt. The IRS likes to see the itemized receipt, kind of like in this picture here, because if they saw a $500 charge on your credit card statement for Target, let's say, they don't know if we went out and bought, you know, like 100 throw pillows, like us ladies do, or you actually bought stuff for your business. So they like to see the itemized receipts. So try to come up with some way to keep those receipts. Luckily, nowadays, a lot of them are electronic. And if you did go to Target, there's a Target app now that will keep your receipts for you. So there's a lot of those like apps out there now. But keep the receipts, scan them in. It's also a great job for your kids to have. And I'll talk about kiddo pay as well, but it's a good little job for your kids to do in your business so that you can pay them tax-free. And then I always have to tell you, please, please, please keep your business and personal expenses separate. The one thing the IRS hates the most is called commingling. And that's when you mix business and personal. So don't swipe your personal card when you're buying something for business and vice versa. If you were to be audited and the IRS saw that, they would say, you know, this is too hard for us to look at. We're just going to disallow all of your business expenses and you're going to be taxed on just your income, which is like worst case scenario. We would never want to see that for you. So just be careful there. One of my favorite deductions that I think most people are missing out on is travel. So like 90% of your travel probably could be a business deduction. You just have to think about it beforehand. For example, right now I'm in Paris. You can't see because I have a fake background on right now, but I'm in a flat in Paris for a few weeks. And it's a business expense in my business because I thought about it beforehand on what am I going to do while I'm in Paris that can be related to business. And I'll give you the IRS rules, and then we'll talk about how to fit those rules for your different trips. So the IRS says for domestic travel, so within the US, 50% of the days need to be business related. Meaning, let's say we took a 7-day trip to Florida. 4 of the 7 days need to be business related in order to write off all of the hotels, meals, transportation, Uber, all of that. And the one IRS rule I like is they say if you're traveling for business on a certain day, that's automatically a business day. So our flight to Florida there and our flight to Florida home is a business day. So I really only need 2 days in there to make the 7-day trip a business expense. So maybe one of the days I pick a board meeting and one of the days I have a photo shoot. There's my 4 days to get that 7-day trip to be a write-off. Now for international travel, it's a little bit harder, which makes sense because the IRS is like, if you're going to go abroad on a business trip, it better be for a business trip. So you need 75% of the days to be business related, meaning a 10-day trip to Paris, let's say, you need 8 of the 10 days to be business related. And remember, the flight there, the flight back automatically count. So I would need 6 days in there to be a business expense, or 6 days of business things to do in order to make it a business expense. So for example, while we're here, we're having board meetings, and everyone that has a business, everyone in this room or on Zoom that has an LLC or an S Corp, you need to have a board, whether that's a board of advisors, board of directors, that's part of your state requirements. But I actually like that rule because then you can have board meetings in cool places. If you've ever noticed in hotels, you like walk around and they have like really big, cool venue spaces, but then in smaller rooms, they say board meetings on there, and that's really what it's for. So you're supposed to travel to a cool place away from your office, away from distractions, and have a board meeting. So while we're in Paris, we're going to have a few board meetings where we flew out our COO. She actually just got here about 5 hours ago, and we're going to have some executive meetings for a couple of days. We're going to have a photo shoot. I looked at some properties yesterday because we want to open a Paris branch for expats. And we're looking at some more flats next week as well. So that's how we got to our 75% of the days to make it a business expense. So really, anytime you travel, it's so easy. You can have board meetings, quarterly planning meetings, networking meetings. Maybe you're going for marketing reasons, like you're taking videos there for content purposes. You're researching a new market to invest in, a new market to work in. Photo shoots, conferences, retreats, and things like that. Like I know you guys are going to Cabo soon. That is for business purposes, and the expense to fly there, for the ticket, to even attend, any meals, including alcohol, can be a business expense as long as you hit those 75% of the days. One of my other favorite topics to talk about is writing off your meals. Because again, I think probably 90% of the time you go out to eat can and should be a business expense, especially you real estate agents. Like you are always marketing yourself, always marketing your business. And just like my business in taxes, everyone needs a tax return. In your business, every single person can buy a house or need to sell a house or knows someone that needs to buy or sell a house. And so you're constantly networking. You just have to think about it ahead of time. And I would recommend putting it on your calendar. Like if you know next Monday, I'm going to meet Sally for lunch at Joe's Cafe, you put it on your calendar, you put the topic that you're going to talk about and why it's for business, and of course, keep the receipt. But do that anytime you're going for coffee, breakfast, lunch, dinner, brunch with girlfriends, because you can probably fit one of these topics. Whether it's networking, marketing, it's a prospective client, it's a past client, maybe it's with an employee, someone else in your industry, a contractor, a vendor. And then another fun little hack that I like is, I'm sure you guys have been to a dental office. If you go to the back of the dentist's office, they have a break room. And in the break room, they have snacks, like probably protein bars or trail mix or apples or M&Ms or something, and some sodas or sparkly waters, whatever. Well, they're writing that off as a business expense for their break room, and you can do the same thing. Whether or not you have a brick and mortar office, you can have those snacks and drinks in your home office and write that off. Yes, the snacks actually have to be in your home office, so don't keep them in your pantry. But if you do keep them in your home office, then when you're at the grocery store, just have two separate transactions. Like we typically will go to Costco once a month, and I'll have two transactions. One's like our normal groceries, and then the second one is all of the home office snacks and snacks that we take to our actual brick and mortar office. So that's a fun little way to get more deductions as well. Vehicles is also a big deduction for you in your businesses, especially as agents, because you're driving all over the place. So I think a majority of agents are taking the wrong vehicle deduction. There's two ways to deduct your vehicles. One is actual deductions and one is mileage. And you're probably taking mileage, but I would bet that the one more advantageous for you is the actual method, because cars are so dang expensive now that the actual method's probably better. So for example, let's say you want to buy a $100,000 Escalade. Well, this year, 2025, if you bought an Escalade and you finance it, meaning you're going to make payments every single month, even if you finance it, you can write off $40,000 this year because it's 6,000 pounds or more. Now, with the new administration, he really pushes 100% depreciation. So we hope that 100% comes back, meaning you buy that $100,000 Escalade this year, you could potentially get a $100,000 write-off on your tax return 2025, even if you financed it. So maybe you pay $1,000 a month, So the most you paid this year is 12 grand, and boom, you get $100,000 deduction. You basically just cash flowed on a car, which never happens. Versus you might be taking mileage right now, and let's say you drove 10,000 miles for business, you only got a $6,000 deduction. So would you rather have $6,000 in mileage or $40,000 worst case scenario with bonus depreciation? Plus, when you take the $40,000, you now get to take all of your gas, repairs, insurance. You want to like get a lift on your truck, you want to get a new stereo system, you want to wrap it, whatever it is, you can take actual expenses in addition to the 40,000. So maybe just gas alone is another 10 grand. So now you're at 50, and various other repairs and things like that, registration, we're now at like $60,000 of deductions, worst case scenario. Now, if your car is under 6,000 pounds, that's where we go, okay, maybe it's better for mileage, but maybe not. Because even if it's under 6,000 pounds, you'd still get like an $18,000 to $20,000 deduction. So you'd have to be driving like 30,000 to 40,000 miles for business every year to make that a better deduction. Okay. Also, I heard an attorney say one time, don't own your car in your business name. Make the payments out of your business, but don't own it in your business name, because if you were to get in an accident, the first thing they do is run title and see who owns it. And if they see a business owns it, they're like, cha-ching, I just got the business and the owner of the business. So instead have title in just your personal name, so they likely won't see your business. I mean, if they did like a ton of digging, of course they would, but that's just like a little legal tip, but not legal tip from me because I'm not an attorney. Okay, I'm trying to go quick here, so you guys just stop me if I go over on time. But one of my favorite things to do is involve your family in your business, like your spouses or your kids. So I'm going to talk about spouses first real quick. There's like 3 ways to involve your spouse in your business. You can either add them as part owner, which is like the best way, most advantageous. You can add them as an employee, which is kind of worst case. And then you can add them, whenever I do peace sign, it like throws up balloons on there. Or the third way is to add them to your board, which is kind of like the middle ground. So let's say you add your spouse as a part owner and they just have to own like 3%. So you don't have to give them half of your business. They just need to own more than 2% to be like considered an owner in the eyes of the IRS. Now, some states are going to say maybe a non-real estate agent can't own this entity. There's some workarounds. I'm just not going to get into it in this Prezi because I only have like a few minutes. So let's say we can add them as a spouse because I've never not been able to. So now you guys can travel together for business. Now, like first class flights to Paris are a write-off. You go to different conferences and retreats. You go to Cabo together. That's a write-off. You can double your retirement savings. So this is another huge one. I think real estate agents don't save enough for retirement. I think they're the worst out of, if I like looked at all the industries we serve, real estate agents are probably the worst at saving for your retirement. So what probably applies to most of you is that you can open up what's called a solo 401k. Solo 401k. And this year you can put up to $70,000 away into it, and it's a business deduction in your business. So you just lowered your profit by 70 grand, which probably saved you like 30 grand plus in taxes. Now, for those of you that have a SEP, please change it over to a solo 401k. I do not like SEPs at all. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, but I've been doing this for 15 years and I've seen it all. A SEP is not protected at all against creditors. And unfortunately, real estate agents do get sued at, sometimes. And so I would hate for you guys to have your retirement accounts exposed. So I don't like SEPs. I also don't like SEPs because you cannot loan against them. Whereas a solo 401k, you could put 50 grand in right now, let's say. You could then take it out as a loan and buy a real estate property with it. And the interest you pay on that loan just goes back into your own retirement account. It does not go to the bank, which is cool. So you can double that 70,000 to 140,000 if you add your spouse into your business. You can add them to your board, so now you can travel for board meetings, and now you can buy another business vehicle, whereas you cannot do that if they're just an employee, because vehicles to employees are taxable. all those same perks work for kids as well. But if any of you have kids, this year you can pay them up to $15,000 completely tax-free. And it's a business deduction to your business. They have to be your own kids. There's a workaround if there's grandkids, but you cannot pay them directly. It would be taxable. We have to like go through your actual children and then they pay their kids. Again, for timing purposes, I won't get into that, but let's say you pay them $15,000, it's a business deduction in your business, and then open up a Roth for them and max that out each year. They will be millionaires in no time. You could screenshot this if you're on Zoom or take a picture in person, but here's just some jobs that your kiddos can do in your business. I mentioned one of them earlier, like scan your receipts, but our 7-year-old takes all of our photos and videos for us. So that's how we pay him in the business. And I know this was just scratching the surface. So scan this QR code. Next Thursday, I'm hosting like over an hour session, totally free, on a ton of different things in your business. I call it the Write Off Your Life Masterclass. So you can sign up for that. Again, it's next Thursday. I only host it twice a year. So you guys kind of got like perfect timing because it's in a week from today. Okay, that was like the fastest presentation I've ever done, and I'm kind of out of breath, but does anyone have questions?
Thank you so much. Any questions for Barbara?
I had two questions.
Okay.
One, do kids have to be under 18?
Yeah, what's a
Do
kid?
kids-
Do they have to be under 18?
Oh, great question. So for it to be completely tax-free, it is under 18 kids. Once they hit 18, you know, everyone has to start paying Medicare, Social Security tax. But it's still a deduction in your business in terms of the $15K. They would just then have to pay Social Security Medicare, which is 7.65% on their end and 7.65% on your end. But I do like still paying kids over 18 because there's also a rule right now. It's only till 26, but I think Trump will extend it, is that you can pay for your kids' college up to $5,250, which I know is like one textbook now, but $5,250 per year, you can pay directly to your kid's school as a business deduction if they're an employee. So I like that rule as well.
So the second question had to do with, you were talking about vehicles and it said to be over 6,000 pounds, but I have a Hummer and I was told that because it's over 9,000 pounds, that I can't write it off.
Did you hear that,
No,
Barbara?
that's not true. I heard it. Yeah, it's not true. You can still write it off.
All right, Clark.
Yeah, you mentioned about writing off your pets.
They're writing off pets.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. Writing off.
Your pets.
Oh, pets.
You have like a quick like Cliff Notes version of pets.
Yes, go to your tax coach. I have like a 5-minute story, like back to back to back. I go through each scenario today, but it'll expire in like 20 hours. So go take a look at it.
You're a tax coach on Instagram and look at the stories.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
I got one more
all
question.
right. Last question.
Barbara, do you have, I'm embarrassed to tell you the pile of receipts that I have that would fill a big box.
Yes.
Do you have any tips on how to, I know you said scan them or have your kids do it, but neither of those work for me. Is there an app that you can use to scan them and organize them to make this a lot more painless and brainless come tax time?
Yeah, so my favorite way is if you have QuickBooks Online, because that also means you're doing bookkeeping, which is great. But for those of you that have QuickBooks Online, if you download the app of QuickBooks Online, there's a picture like portion of it, and it will actually read your receipt. So like if QuickBooks sees $5.12 for coffee and it sees it on the receipt, it'll link it directly to the transaction. So like if you were audited, you'd never even have to like compile anything because everything matches already. So that's like ideal situation. If you don't use QuickBooks Online, then I would get an app called Shoeboxed, like SHOEBOXED, and it will scan your receipts for you.
So thank you so much for being on today, Barbara, for your amazing presentation. Next Thursday, guys, if you want to attend, go ahead and scan the QR code. And thank you. Anyway, just thank you so much for being on here. All right, break it, Barbara.
Thank
Round
you.
of applause. Thank you. Well, we're in Paris. We're in rainy Roseville right now. So have fun in Paris.
Thank you.
All right. So our keynote speaker for today, I met him for the first time yesterday. He was on the radio show that I do every single week. And honestly, my takeaways were, I've been doing my clients who have solar on their property a disservice. I didn't even know solar inspection was a thing, and some of the stories that Erin was sharing were very eye-opening. So make sure you take a lot of notes, write down some questions. Erin's also the guy who brought the food, so make sure you thank him for that. But please welcome to the front of the room, Erin Clark.
That was a really, really impressive
Yeah.
tax presentation. OMG. I'm
Yeah.
so, I think hiring that firm, incredible. So I don't know if anybody wants to stretch. We just sat through 20 minutes. This is going to be hopefully very interactive. It's much more fun when it's a dialogue, not a monologue. So questions, shoot them at me like the whole entire time. So let me plug in right now, and there's food. I mean, there's sandwiches, there's potato salad, chips and cookies. So if you want to grab food and eat while I'm talking, totally cool. Oh, yeah. Let me do that. Okay, hopefully, is that good? Everybody can hear, okay? So my name's Erin Clark, and I'm the owner of Rockland Solar Repair. Started as repair business, and by the way, I'm not selling anything except inspections. I don't install new solar systems. I'm not trying to get your homeowners to buy solar. I am a solar inspector specifically for real estate transactions. So I deal with you. You're my customers. You're my clients. This is who I work with. So I've been doing this 20 years in the solar industry and solar inspections, specifically for real estate transactions for the last few. I'm a licensed general contractor and I'm a licensed solar contractor. I've seen this stuff. I know it really well. And I forget to do this in the beginning, so here it is. What does a solar inspection cost? It's $2.99. It's really cheap, in my opinion, for the value that you get and that your clients are going to get. You can book me just by calling the phone number. You can email, you can schedule it yourself on my website, but mostly realtors call me. So why should you get a solar inspection, and what is a solar inspection? So 3 things during a solar inspection. Number 1, we're going to see how well it's installed, and I'm going to show you in a minute. Most are not. And here's what I'll say. Every one of you I know has sold a home with a solar system on it, and 80% of them have problems. Not 1%, not 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, 80%. I guarantee you your clients who bought a home that had solar are having some sort of trouble with it. Number 2, so I'm going to see, hey, was the thing installed properly? Number 2, is it working? It might have been installed properly, but it's not working for other reasons. And then number 3, I didn't think this was going to be the bulk of what I did, and it turned out to be helping your clients with what the heck did I just buy? I've got this solar system. How do I look at it? Are there warranties? So we'll go through all that. And this is what I've heard has been happening. So, hey, you've got a house that you are helping a buyer with, or potentially you're the listing agent. And how do we know it's working? Oh, I've got a true up here. See, I've got the PG&E bill. Hey, I know it's working. Look, there's negatives on here. They didn't pay any money this month for PG&E or SMUD or Roseville Electric. Look, it's negative. This is a true story. So this is a real bill, and I'm going to go through a real customer. The seller says, look, we're saving about $380 a month. That's true. That was absolutely true. So I get there. I was hired by the buyer, and I get to the home, and this isn't a superficial, are these solar panels bolted down? I dove into the inverter at the site. I opened up the app. I'm an installer and authorized for all this equipment. So I opened it up. Immediately, 1, 2, 3 panels aren't not working. I went into the history. They hadn't worked in years. These 3 solar panels had failed. So is the system technically on? It is. Those 3 are failed. Everything that's dark blue is currently failing and will fail. Almost half of these solar panels on this house either didn't work or shortly going to stop working. So I went and said, okay, it's saving money. This is what it's producing. This is what it should produce a day. This is what it's producing now. I went back to the first week it was installed and pulled that history. And this isn't a special case. I do this on all inspections. It's working at 67%. They should be saving $565 a month, and they're only saving $380. So for a one-time $299 inspection fee, they're going to get an increase of a couple $100 every month in additional utility savings if the thing was working properly. And by the way, this isn't, hey, I cherry picked one. 8 out of 10 systems have some sort of issues. There was $2,200 a year in lost savings out of the solar system. A solar system has one function: save money. If it is not saving money, it is a giant $40,000, $50,000 anchor on that roof. We need to make sure it's working properly. And again, pepper me with any questions. So I knew exactly where to go. And by the way, this stuff was under warranty. All they had to do was know it wasn't working, and we could file a warranty claim to get new equipment, in which we did. And I knew exactly what of the many companies to go to get those warranty claims.
Same questions, I assume now.
Please.
When I bought my solar system, they promised me that I was going to get some curb software, which I don't think they ever really intended to deliver because they didn't deliver it. But can I get that still somehow?
You said curb?
Yeah, the name of it was Curb.
Okay, so that's a
How to
monitor
what your, yeah.
and what appliances in your home are using energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's follow up after. Email me your contract and I'll go through and see what they actually said in there and what it was, and did they install it, but they just didn't give you the app to view it. I can dig in and help you figure that out.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So we had our solar installed back in 2016 when it was Solar City.
Yep.
And it got bought by Tesla.
Yep.
We have 88 panels on our house.
Mm-hmm.
Our true-up bill was $9,000 for last year, and last month alone it was $1,200.
And I'm assuming it used to be less than 9,000 a year.
Yeah, and we called Tesla. They're like, oh, it's because PG&E raised the rates. PG&E's like, oh, we don't know if it's your solar. You need to upgrade your home. 2 years ago, we literally got in our upgraded our entire home. We have only windows, only heat and air. I mean, every single thing in our house. So I just can't. I'm baffled by the whole thing, and I will obviously hire you to come out and inspect it. But there's something I just can't figure out how. It's me and my husband and my niece in the house. It's not like we do have a big house, but it's not. It's just insane. Last year in January, we completely shut off our heat and air units for the entire month because of bill. Our month was 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Next month, 1,100.
Yeah, we definitely do take a look at it. And that's what will happen in inspection. I mean, I'll go through top to bottom and we'll see, is the system really performing? Or was it PG&E raising rates, which they do? And maybe it's a combination. Maybe it was partially PG&E raising rates, but maybe part of the system isn't working as it should. So we can absolutely figure that out. Now PG&E's rates go up all the time. And I get so many calls this year alone. Oh my gosh, my true-up is way higher. And some of the time it's because the equipment isn't working as it should.
Okay, so Marguerite's point in her story, her true-up bill was $9,000.
Yep.
Isn't it supposed to be her true-up bill that she gets money? Because her solar is not only paying her solar, it's providing extra. I don't understand why at the end of the year she would owe for a true-up bill when she's got solar supposed to not only take care of her bill, but give her back some. Am I missing something?
Yeah, so yeah, a solar system will generate. So a solar system generates electricity, and you could only put a few panels on that would never wipe your bill out. You could put 50 panels on, that might not wipe your bill out. It all depends on how, it's like a car, right?
It depends on
How many miles you drive, and that tells you how much gas you got to put in the car. It's the same with a solar panel. So however much home energy you're using in the home determines how many panels you need to put on the
Yeah, that part
roof.
makes sense. I get that.
Yeah.
I just thought-
So if you
I
still,
thought when you put it in, it's intuitive, like, we're gonna put in enough panels so that it not only pays your bill.
oh, no, half these homes have starter systems, or they were only meant to ever cover 50% of the bill. And by the way, somebody might put a solar system in and it covered 50% of their bill, and they're two people and they like to be hot in the summertime. I have a family of 5 and I want it ice cold. So I live in Whitney Ranch. Me and my neighbor, identical homes. You know, there's only like 3 models you could buy. So me and my neighbor have the same home. And I'm a family of 5, they're a family of 2. We have wildly different electric bills, same exact home. So 10 panels on their house is fine. I have 30 panels and it's not enough to wipe out my bill. We have the same home. So, and I have a slide. Correct. Yep. So
Wow.
I know how to pull the data from all of the inverters. I'm an authorized installer for everybody, so I know how to do it. I use the same software that home inspectors use. It's just adapted for a solar process. So it's not some weird PDF that this is interactive. It's got video, it has pictures, you can email it. I'll do a request for repair at the end of it. So it's that same stuff that you're used to. Hey, these are all good. The yellow, well, we should probably address those. Doesn't, don't hold up escrow or don't hold up closing. Hey, oh boy, these are a problem. Like these might need to be addressed now in the red. So what are the questions? And by the way, all your buyers, every single one of them have these questions. And if they don't get answered up front, they're just going to search on the internet for hours and hours and hours. And that's what they do because they don't know what they bought. They don't know the equipment. How do I get this thing transferred into my name? Let's say it's owned. So you're not trying to transfer a lease. You still have to transfer the equipment or you're never going to get the phone app. So how do I transfer it? How old is it? What size is it? Does it have a warranty? How much time's left on the warranty? Is it working? How much should I save? All of these things are in the inspection report. On page 2, I will tell them exactly how much this will save them per month. So they know when they move in, oh good, this solar system's gonna save $50 or $500. It's a math equation that I do during that inspection. So why do homeowners have all the questions? Because here's your typical solar sales guy. They don't want you to know anything. They want you to make it sound, it's so easy, don't worry about it. Just buy the home, you want to sell it, boom, look how easy it is to transfer. You want to get all the phone app stuff, don't worry, it's easy. It's not easy. This is exactly what's happening. So, especially during financed systems and during transactions. So I'll help with that transfer process. The solar industry is like the gold rush. It's every door knocker, every company came into the state and popped up and they install and they hit neighborhoods and then they're out a year later. So a lot of your clients don't know if they have any warranty left and the contractor's nowhere to be found. And so they're kind of stuck. All right, I want to get the thing fixed before I sell it, but I don't know who to call. And I can also help with that. The other problem in construction, 44% of new construction firms make it to year 3, only 44. And 82% will fail before year 20, 82%. So there is a very high likelihood that that original contractor isn't going to be around. And then that's when buyers and sellers run into trouble. They don't know who to call. So we can help. So here's 3 systems. And by the way, these are all of your customers. And I know it's not intentional. I did not know I was going to find this stuff out when I started inspecting a few years ago. Now I've been in the solar business for 20 years. I thought, oh, I'm going to occasionally find stuff. It was mind-blowing to me. And I've been doing this 20 years, how poorly these things are installed. And these, oh, by the way, the same stuff happens on the brand new solar systems from home builders. The home builder crews that install solar are the same crews that are doing all the other homes in town. And so this is a 50-pound piece of glass, the solar panel. 50-pound piece of glass with metal. It's on the roof. It's not bolted down. The bolts are on the roof. They were there. The crew brought them up, put them in a pile, and left them there. You can go pick this solar panel up. It is 50 pounds of glass and metal that can fall right off the roof. This is almost every single job I inspect. I find this almost every single home. Here's 500 volt. I'll tell you.
That's insane.
Here's 500 volt wire. So when you're pulling your Christmas lights down, no conduit, forget it. We're just going to put 500 volt wire right on the roof, no conduit. And this one, this is a support bracket. Here's the asphalt comp roof. You know what? Forget putting roof flashing down. I'm going to drill right into the roof and just spray paint it black. All of these were inspected by the city or county and approved. Every one of these had a city or county inspection. So why does all this happen? So building inspectors don't get on roofs, and this is not a knock against building inspectors. There are a lot of very good building inspectors. I'm telling you, they don't get on roofs because they tell me, because I talk to them and I see this. Solar crews know this, and typically solar installers are paid piecework. They're paid by the solar panel install. They are incented to go fast and go to the next job. So no one is checking this stuff, not a single person.
Did it show up on a roof inspection? Like what a roof inspector?
Some roof inspectors, they should point out. I don't think they're really checking, and it's really not their job, and it's not in their description to do it. So, and
Like, yeah, out of curiosity, if like a roof inspector would be like, hey, this is like not cool, I can't comment on it, but in their own roof inspector verbiage, obviously.
I don't see, here's where I actually see some comments are from the actual general home inspector. And I'm friends with a lot of them. I see them, we end up at the same job sites and I mean, the same closings. And they'll do the very superficial, hey, is there a piece of broken glass on the roof, a broken solar panel? But that's kind of where it stops. Yeah. So there's other hidden issues too that are going to affect performance. This solar panel visually to the naked eye looks great. Thermal image, these cells are starting to fail. It's called a hotspot. It's going to burn a hole through the back of that solar panel and that panel is going to stop working. So again, hiring a specialist who knows what they're doing will uncover this stuff ahead of time. And so we, and then look, it's all fixable. By the way, every one of these things, totally fixable. Let's know about it up front because your buyers are going to move in and then finally figure out how to get the phone app. And then like, wait, I thought it was going to save $400 a month. Why am I saving $60? Well, panels aren't working. That could have been fixed with warranties. The other one that, and for some reason, I don't know why pigeons love the Placer, El Dorado areas, Sacramento areas. So I got in this house and it was really gross. There's like bird poop everywhere, but fine. The system was actually working. Then I looked under the panels. This is what was underneath. So all bird poop and dead birds, piles of dead birds under here, bird eggs. So, okay, it's gross, super gross. Here's the problem. All the electrical wiring for the solar system is under here. This will absolutely short out and stop working. So what would have happened? The buyer would have moved in and in about a year or so, it's going to short out. Then they're going to call and a repair company is going to come out and say, oh my gosh, there's been birds living under here for 5 years. So we figured this out, got the whole thing cleaned and then put bird guard around it so that prevented it. But this was $1,000 issue that buyer would have had to come out of pocket a year later to fix, and we did it up front.
So this current seller paid for
The seller.
all that. That was in the request for repair.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Yeah, the seller got it all done before it closed.
I'm
Yeah.
assuming solar companies don't cover the cost of birds getting in their yard.
No, and so there's two parts of a warranty if you buy a solar system. We're going to talk about leases in a second, but if you own a solar system, there are the manufacturer's warranty. So solar panels and inverter, those two things. And the manufacturer is going to warrant those. So manufacturer's warranties here, the installer warranty here, that's labor. And the state of California only requires 12 months in a contract. So you have to look at your contract. Did the installer say, hey, 12 months worth of labor, or 5 years, 10 years, every one of them is different. And so if it's 12 months and this system's older than a year, the installer, even if they did something wrong, could say, you had a 12-month warranty on the labor. So it just kind of depends on the contractor.
It feels like once it's installed, you have to have you come out and inspect it, to even see if they did it right.
So I do a lot of inspections to, now primarily real estate transactions, but I get called for the R&R, remove and reinstall. Hey, my roof's bad, I need a new roof. Got to have the solar system taken off. And then the roofer either does it or hires a solar company to put them back on. Oh my gosh, those are dreadful. So I get called to do inspections after it was reinstalled when they put a new roof on. And almost every time I've just got this long list of, yep, try again, come back and install the thing the right way. R&Rs are another one that you definitely want inspected.
If there is that solar is leased.
Oh, leased. I've got a whole section on leasing I'm going to jump into in just a second. Oh, leased. Here we go. Should I inspect the lease system, right? Perfect timing. Here's exactly why you need to inspect a lease system, because I've definitely had pushback from either the buyers or even sometimes realtors, mostly all realtors that I've ever presented to and work with. Like once I give a presentation, they're like, oh my gosh, every time, let's do this. And by the way, I'm not trying to make this a fear-based presentation. It seems like every time I do, everybody's like, big fail. This is clearly fear-based. Look, everything's fixable. And sometimes it's minor stuff. Where I find that you're going to get so much value is that buyer's going to be set up for success when they move in. They're not going to have those hours and hours online of trying to figure it out. Okay, leased. This doesn't happen once a year. This happens more often than it should. Hey, Erin, this is leased. If there's something wrong, the leasing company has to fix it. It's their equipment. Absolutely true. Just this week, I think it was Monday, I inspected a leased system. Very true story. And the homeowner, oh, let me continue my story. I go out to the home. It's leased. I do lease document review, by the way. So if I'm inspecting a home, send me the lease documents first. I'm going to review it. And here's why. I had the lease document. I reviewed it. I get to the home. On the lease paperwork, 27 solar panels, $220 a month for 25 years, whatever the thing was. All right, here's all the information. That's not what was installed at the house. This woman had signed up, she didn't buy anything. She signed up for a 25-year lease at call it $250 a month. It's supposed to generate all this power. That's not what they installed. They installed 24 solar panels, not 27. Doesn't sound like a lot, but that monthly payment should have been less. So it would have never been found out, and your buyer would have assumed the lease, and it was smaller than it should have been, but the payment wasn't smaller. They were paying on 27 solar panels. There were 24 installed at the home. So I was hired by the buyer, and actually, no. Sorry, I was hired by the seller on this one. And she said, oh my gosh, I had no idea. She said, for the past year or two, I've been paying this. I said, that's not what's installed. By the way, no buyer is going to assume this lease until this is fixed. So now they already are pending on this home. This is going to take a minimum of 30 days for this leasing company to figure out how to solve this. Are they going to refund money? Are they going to add 3 more panels? Are they going to readjust the lease? So she's right now on the phone, and this is Monday. She's on the phone with the leasing company saying, you had me signed up for a higher payment. You didn't install all the panels. I'm trying to sell this home, and it's pending, and I've got a buyer. You do not want to be in this situation. This happens more often than you think. This is not a one-time. I was in Sun City. It was like the documents. Oh, this is Marguerite. Did you ask about Solar City than Tesla? So this happened on one in Sun City. It wasn't this situation, but it was very similar. There was a company called Vivint. Vivint was a leasing company. Well, they got bought out by Sunrun. So this is a lease system in Sun City. I get out there. So I'm looking, I'm hired by the buyer. Okay, lease system, sun run, great. 20 solar panels, 10 were on the roof. 10. This says 20. So I'm in Sun City. So I get and I said to the buyer, sorry, pause. Do not assume this lease, something's going on. So the seller calls Sunrun and says, hey, what's going on? Oh, sorry, that was a Vivint system. We bought Vivint, we can't find the original documents, so we sent you what we thought was there. All true story. So they sent documentation because this was a Vivint lease and they couldn't find the original lease paperwork. So they sent what they thought was there. They used my report, said this is what's installed, and then they now got the correct paperwork for the system. So should you inspect a lease system? Oh my gosh, yes. Now, when I find issues, just they send my report over to the leasing company and then they come out and send a crew. So the homeowner doesn't have to come out of pocket. The seller doesn't have to come out of pocket to fix repairs. But please don't have your buyers sign up for leases unless you actually know that that's what's installed. Yeah, you're assuming, your buyers are assuming 10 years or 15 years left of a 20-year agreement, and it could be at the wrong price because the equipment doesn't match. Now, there's a variety of reasons why that could have happened, but it's easy to solve it up front. So the other thing on a leased system is it priced properly? Is it a good lease to assume? Let me compare it to something that I think we've all either experienced or have done. Leasing a car. I've leased a ton of cars before. And let me use this example. If you lease a Toyota Corolla, it's $300 a month. Great, no problem. $300 a month for a Toyota Corolla. I've had a Toyota Corolla. Great cars, $300 a month, not a problem. What if that Toyota Corolla is $1,300 a month? Absolutely, you don't want to pay $1,300 a month. Same with a solar system. A solar system needs to be priced properly. 27 cents, not super competitive. It's not. I've seen leases at 12 cents, 13 cents. If this is at 27, might not be great. Your buyers could be signing up for something that could be not twice as much as it should be, but 50, 60% higher. So I can help figure that out and tell you what's competitive in the market. Now, an older lease might have been cheaper, a newer one's going to be more expensive, but that's something I help with. And by the way, leasing isn't bad, or a power purchase agreement isn't bad. It can be a great way to get a solar system. I was just inspected one the other day, but the system had 0 problems, and it was one of the most competitive leases I've seen. It was at 12 cents. And I said to the buyer, this is great. It's priced at 12 cents. You have no maintenance worries because it's their equipment. They have to fix it. You're just getting cheap power for the rest of this agreement. I said, absolutely sign this thing. Absolutely assume this lease. It's like a home run. So leasing isn't bad. Let's make sure it's a good lease.
Hired their 5 months. Yearly.
What's that?
They hired their yearly.
Yeah, and you mean saying the increases? Yeah. So not every lease has to have an escalator. An escalator is just the solar industry's way of saying that payment goes up every year. And they could be 1% increase, 2%, 3%, 3.5%. Now, this is where savings can get really dicey. Leave that up to me. I will put a savings estimate in every single report, but you can have the same exact amount of solar panels on a house in PG&E, Smud, and Roseville, and the savings are wildly different. So, hey, I know, I had a buyer or a seller, and there was 20 panels on the roof, and they were saving about $300 a month. You can't use that universally into any electric territory. So 10 panels or 20 panels is not the same. So I'll give that savings estimate, but just be careful about trying to give savings guidance because it can be really different. And I'll kind of close on this net metering thing. Some of you have probably heard net metering 2, net metering 3, true ups. What is all this stuff? Rate schedules. I mean, it is kind of complicated. You're going to start seeing a lot of battery systems because PG&E just changed, and Roseville and Smud do the same thing. They kind of follow. So before, it was really easy to figure out how much power, how much you're going to get paid from the utility. PG&E said, if you're selling power to them, your solar system's generating and you're selling them power, it's 38 cents. Here up to 5 p.m., 51 and 38 again. So on peak, off peak, right? And winter, summer. Pretty easy schedule. Well, PG&E hates this. Hates it, hates it, hates it. They don't want to pay you these rates. They were forced to, and they hated it. They don't want to pay you 51 cents for your power or 38. So they went to the Public Utilities Commission and got this changed. So this somewhat simple schedule, there are now 576 compensation possibilities. So if you own solar and you're selling them power, so what is this? This is 11 o'clock and we're in February, you get 2 pennies. You get 2 cents for selling PG&E power. You used to get 38 cents. Now they'll pay you 2.7 cents. It's almost zero practically. And in fact, it's April, it is 0. 1 penny here. It's 0, 0. I mean, it's a fraction of a penny. It's a fraction. So that's, again, savings estimates are trickier now with this new thing. So you're going to see a lot of batteries installed because you don't want to sell PG&E power anymore. You're going to put it in your battery and then use it back at night. So
Interesting.
yep. All right. So that's my presentation. I'm going to be here to hang out, get some food, please. Ask me questions. I'm here to help. Yeah, go ahead.
I think with my system, we grandfathered into an earlier agreement than the net metering system.
Correct.
And so people have tried to sell us batteries, but we've come to the understanding that when you buy a battery like this, true or false, that changes the agreement to go to the net metering system. Is that true?
You're absolutely right. And by the way, I forgot to say this. If you own a solar system, I'll do yours for 99 bucks. It's a great way for me to get to know you. You can see how an inspection's done. You can see how it's presented, the material. So if you're a realtor and you own a system on your home, 99 bucks, I'll do your house. And then, like I say, it's a great way to introduce me to your
Done.
clients. Yeah. So yes, if the home had solar before April 2023, you're already grandfathered in an old net metering. So you would not be subject to this dreadfully new
But if you get
plan.
batteries, it changes.
Not if you get batteries, if you add solar panels. So if you want to make your system bigger, PG&E loves that because they're like, great, we get to kick you off of that old one and put you on this.
Who do you recommend for battery?
Yeah, so I'm a repair company, so, and an inspection, so I inspect, and then if I'll issue a request for repairs if I find them, and then sometimes I get hired by the sellers, sometimes the buyers move in and then hire me, sometimes nobody fixes it, I don't know what happens with these trends, I don't know what happens. So batteries, you do not need a battery if you're on net metering too. There's no financial benefit, 0. Now, if you want power when the power's out, maybe you want a battery. But you're grandfathered in. A battery will not financially be advantageous for you. Batteries are required on new systems because if you don't have a battery, your power has to go somewhere when you're not using it, and it's going to go to PG&E for 0, a fraction of a penny, or close to it.
How much the electric cars add on?
A lot. Like whatever your usage was before, it's gonna be 40% higher with an electric vehicle. Not 3%, but 40% higher.
Not because of what?
It takes so much electricity to charge them. To fill a battery in an electric vehicle, mostly they're 60 to 100 kilowatt hours. Yeah. So it's going to add minimum 40% to your bill.
Well, that's why I was trying to debate, because my bill went so high. I'm assuming an electric vehicle.
It's part of it, big time. Yeah.
So the point of my question earlier was that I think my wife actually found out that if we put a solar battery that to our system, that would change our net metering different way. So we're absolutely not doing it. Change our That's what I thought.
No, because you can add a battery. You can't.
Even try to add. They don't add panels.
No, the battery won't do that because you didn't. PG&E determines you didn't change the system size. You just now are storing it. That doesn't take you off of old net metering. Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right, thank you. I'm going to be hanging out. If you have questions, come find me, and my info's there. So if you want to schedule,
Make sure they're not adding.
pretty easy to do so.
All right, wasn't this good? Thank you guys. Solar can be so much fun. All right, thank you so much, Erin. Thank you.
All right, mind give me the little.
Yo, yeah. Buy online,